For those of you that don't already know CBS and Copenhagen, I'll give you a bit of background information about the school, just 5-10 minutes from me, and then we'll hand over to the alumni, to the colleagues on the alumni side of things. So, in terms of Copenhagen Business School, it's been around a long time. It's over 100 years old now, and actually it's one of the largest business schools in Europe, over 20,000 students. However, on a MBA side of things, we're actually relatively small. We have 3 MBA programs, each of them around 45 students, and we actually have several campuses within Copenhagen. And within those campuses in Copenhagen, our let's say executive education building is around 10-15 minutes away walk from the main campus, so that in a place called Frederiksberg, which is like a old part of Copenhagen. The school, the university, it's a fully established university, is very research based institution, and that cutting edge research very much connects to our teaching style. For those of you who don't know Copenhagen so well, I'll give a very brief introduction to the city. Very recently, it also won the well, I say won in IMD's World Competitiveness Yearbook. Was voted the or was found to be the #1 world's most competitive economy, and I include that one because it goes beyond GDP. It looks at the political, the social, the cultural aspects that contribute to that too. The second part, I guess this links into that too, is that it regularly comes into sort of the happiest countries in the world, which is obviously a cliche, but I think it applies very strongly towards work-life balance in that regard. And you won't necessarily feel it on the MBA itself, but hopefully after the program, you'll be able to experience that because obviously it's quite intensive, the MBA. Thirdly, it's one of the safest cities in the world in terms the Economist. It came top in that regard. Definitely moving here from London a few years ago, we can feel the difference there. And the last 2 points, I just wanted to sort of emphasize the practical aspects here. The English language level in Denmark is extremely high, particularly in Copenhagen. And they are really trying to drive for international talent to come to Copenhagen. It's a big difference from many countries at the moment with regards to international students. The post-study work visa here is now an automatic 3-year post-study work visa after the MBA. So I think that ties into some of these aspects we're seeing. More specifically about the Copenhagen MBA, we are triple accredited and well-ranked business school. If you've not seen this terminology before in terms of triple accreditation, it's basically a benchmark of quality, teaching quality, destinations, graduates, facilities, faculty, that type of thing. I won't go into that too much in detail because there are lots of resources, and feel free to research that in your own time too. But basically, it's a shortcut to say one of the top tier schools in the world, because there's only about 100 with that triple crown accreditation. And then in terms of ethos, more interestingly, perhaps, it's very much connected to sustainability and responsible leadership. We are a general management MBA, but the ethos of the program, in fact, the dean of the program, his research area is ESG, so it's heavily connected to that. And in terms of the ethos of the program, we're very focused on sort of what I would say Nordic leadership and Scandinavian teaching style. And what that means in shorthand is effectively team-based, consensus-based in the classroom, but also from a leadership perspective in the way that we teach. If those things resonate with you, fantastic. It's important to also think about alignment and fit when you're looking at an MBA, not just obviously these sort of these more prescriptive rankings and that type of thing. In terms of who comes onto the MBA, it varies each year. We're very, very proud of how genuinely diverse our perspectives we are that we're trying to bring into the classroom. For example, this year we had 41 students. Usually it's a maximum of 45. We tend to go for 40, 45 per year. And that included 19 nationalities, 7 years of work experience. Average age is 31, but it's very broad. And the gender parity was 44% women in terms of this. And I also wanted to include in terms of this year, but I also wanted to include this category pie chart here. where it basically gives you a good reflection of the really different perspectives we're trying to bring into the classroom, but also the key, well, usually the dominant industries that each year are consulting, tech, financial services, life sciences, uh, energy or clean energy, is ESG connected into that as well. In terms of the program structure, again, this is one where I won't go into too much detail because there are lots of resources that you can look at and look at this in more detail. But effectively, it's a one-year intensive MBA, year-long intensive MBA. And how we've structured it, we feel is quite logical. So the first 6 months are your core modules where we're taking you general management perspective of the internal aspects of the organization, the environment around it, and how to strategically execute. So at that point, we feel you're ready to personalize your MBA. So you have this opportunity to take the concentrations, which are an opportunity to go deeper dive into a particular topic. You actually combine with our executive MBA as well there, where so you're getting some senior level perspectives there too. And then you will also take up your MBA internship, where you're 25 hours a week within a company. I'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. In terms of the year-long focuses, you can see that we have three aspects there. Sustainability is again something I already mentioned as an ethos. We have the leadership discovery process. Sometimes you'll hear it called the LDP. Effectively, what we're trying to do here is help you understand yourself much better as a leader and give you this toolbox of leadership concepts that you can employ in different situations or with different stakeholders or with different followers, depending on your relationship or how you, the word they use is negotiate and your position as a leader with that respective follower. Because especially here in Scandinavia, but it's much more common internationally these days as well, you aren't necessarily the line manager when you're working on a particular project. So how do you adapt your leadership style or use different concepts in those situations without knowing yourself much better as a leader? And that's, we've had some resources recently, or we've had another webinar recently that goes much deeper dive into that, the leadership discovery process. So I'd recommend to take a look at that if you're interested to hear more about that too. And finally, today's theme around careers, we have a year-long module on careers. You spend a lot of class time on it. Because obviously, we can talk about how wonderful Copenhagen is, etc. But a big part of an MBA is obviously focused on the careers aspect. So you'll spend class time on things like what you might expect in terms of CVs and applications and interviews and networking and that type of thing. But we also focus, I think, on a lot of the informal networking aspects that is super important here in Scandinavia, and can be effective elsewhere, of course. But it's really important here for us to leverage, I think, opportunities for you to engage with that informal networking, and that comes through these types of activities we've listed here. So they are officially part of the let's call it the careers module, but it's really to facilitate that opportunity for an informal networking through the professional breakfast, company events, careers mentor program, that type of thing. The alumni events and the alumni network is tremendously engaged. Well, evidence today, I suppose, with these two fantastic alumni joining us today. And these are all, again, sort of to give you this perspective that's different from the formal class environment, that a lot of the opportunities that present themselves for the internship, for the post-MBA career work, come through these types of activities too. And that links well onto the internship itself. So introduced this maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, as an opportunity to put your MBA into real life practice. So you're basically from 3 or 4 months of the final part of the program, 25 hours a week with a company, working on solving a real life strategic challenge for said host company. Now we work with you on that to help, or you apply to one of the companies that have approached us, or you work with the careers team to find your own client effectively. My MBA was similar structure. It was my favorite part in terms of this final section where you're in this almost like a internal consultant role. Lots of different examples there, but it's a really good way of also giving you this practice of doing what you're about to do at the end of the program and transitioning into the real world, in inverted commas, to take that next step in your career as well. It does have an impact. These are general statistics. Obviously, I can go into more detail with individuals afterwards if we need to, but I also wanted to include this to give you an idea of typically around 70% of our students stay in, it varies, sometimes it's higher than that, in Denmark after the program. No right or wrong answer there, but it just gives you an idea of where in particular our network is strongest. And then I also wanted to include the destinations where people have typically gone. This is from 2022, the most recent careers impact report we released. And you can see that life sciences dominated that year, but it's the typical ones I mentioned earlier that had been the largest destinations that are very strong here in Denmark as well. Sometimes they can be difficult to categorize, so I wouldn't think of it as in black and white terminology as this, and that's also why we sort of include this information as well, to give you some inspiration of where our students have gone in recent years for post-MBA companies, for some of their internships as well, actually. So probably that should include strategy projects or slash internship companies there too. And then in terms of the post-MBA roles that people have gone on to, obviously it partly depends on their technical background too, but if you're coming onto an MBA, you'll probably be targeting maybe like big picture or connected to that strategic sort of some sort of roles that are going to utilize your technical knowledge, but also your newly found knowledge from the MBA. So I've included this too, just because it also, any webinar we do, we get questions on this. So yes, we do have minimum criteria. So there's a minimum of 3 years post-bachelor's full-time work experience. And yes, we do require a GMAT or GRE, and you can see the scores that we require there. And finally, tuition fee and scholarships. I've included information here on that. We do have a number of scholarships available, up to 40% tuition fee reduction. The cost of the program is 350,000 Danish kroner. Obviously, do your own exchange rate, but that's about 51,000 US dollars as of this month. So I appreciate that's a lot of information just thrown at you there, but I wanted to give some important context as we were as we were going to go through the careers aspects and the alumni stories here. So at this point, would it be great if I could stop sharing my screen, and I'd love to pass over to you in a moment, Köyü. But I would just say, if anybody wants to send in your questions. And now we've had plenty of people join. It seems like we've got everybody in. You can send your questions either via the chat or the Q&A, and we will have plenty of time at the end, and we'll go through those together. So if you're ready, Köyü, I'd happily pass over to you, and feel free to share your screen.
Sounds good. Just gonna get started on sharing. Please let me know when it's up.
Sure, can see it from our end.
Cool. Hi everyone, my name is Köyü, as I have done in the very brief introduction. I think now I'm going to take you on a journey of since my college, which is quite some years. But I'm born and raised in China. I'm a Chinese citizen. Since 2013, I have moved to US and primarily been living in US since college, before relocating to Denmark in 2022. And here is something I would like to show, which is how my journey has been, and perhaps it will give you some of the references and some of the perspective that you might be thinking a similar thing, or if you're having similar background. So in 2013, I moved from China to Boston, US, and I started my bachelor's study at Northeastern University. I'm coming from a very quantitative background. I majored in econometrics and quantitative economics, while gaining some of the work experiences in Bose and XCM and Pretty Instant, which I think actually their company being purchased already now, but it was just quite kind of diverse experiences. I was in college, I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do for life, so I think the best way to know is kind of, explore broad and try different experiences before knowing what you like, or perhaps more is what you don't like. And in 2018, I think that's where I would like to have a bit of a change. Being in Boston for 5 years, and I moved to Memphis for a work opportunity and started working for Rockwell US as operation controller, while I continued my master's study at Harvard University, again in finance. So I think I got a bit of a different flavor of experiences of more of a US North versus US South. And that's quite different and interesting. And also working for Rockwell being a Danish company, having the international subsidiary, and it's a quite new operation as a controller. I think it gains me more of the financial as well as operation perspective, which I find is quite interesting. And in 2021, that's when I moved to Toronto, Canada. Continue working for the same company, but this time more in the North American headquarter as the market intelligence manager, which I think it's very interesting overseeing the construction market and then the building materials being part of the subset of the construction market. So that has provided me with a lot of the specialized knowledge into the market, as well as some of the ways that we can think, and as a strategic advisor to the initiatives that's at the corporate level. With that, for I think around 2 years, I felt like it's a changes I would like to make in my next career move, because I think I've spent all the years, 5 years of industry experience, as I mentioned before, looking into different facets of the operation as well as the strategic direction of the company. I felt like I would like to pick my own lane, so to say. So I would like to focus on something and bringing all the experiences from a holistic perspective. And that's where I think MBA is a perfect opportunity to kind of accelerate and putting everything into the perspective, holistic perspective, as well as putting some of this case study based learning to apply in more different contexts. So I was started looking for MBA programs, and I was considering Europe, because being a Chinese citizen, I also in North America for almost 10 years, I also would like to, step my foot and kind of continue my life exploration in the Europe hemisphere. So I will get more into the top reasons why I picked Copenhagen Business School, but in terms of my journey in 2022, I moved to Copenhagen, Denmark, and started the MBA. And one of the most important, as I mentioned, one is the holistic perspective, which I absolutely think an MBA program is there to bring everything together. Also, the leadership discovery journey or program, the LDP, has given you more perspective in thinking about what you would like and who are you as a person, what is your preferable working style, and what is the leadership potential. So taking that part of the MBA toolbox with me in 2023, part of the internship program, I interned at COE, which is an engineering consultancy company, and in their M&A department, where I gained, I think, 3 different, very important in the 3.5, or actually for more is a little bit longer, 4-month period. I think one thing is gaining insights into M&A, which is a field I would really like to target post the MBA. And working in the M&A department in a larger corporation, I think it just really provides me what is like the daily activities and some of the terminologies, and what is the industry thinking of in M&A context. And the second thing is, I think it also gave me an insight into the Danish working environment. I think that's a perfect opportunity to have exposure and see, this work-life balance, so to say, is that a real thing or people are just saying it? So I think it's a really good exposure to learn from that Danish working culture as well. And the last thing is the thesis is based on the project, which I think is a great collaboration with a Danish company and looking into the digitalization perspective in the M&A context, which I think is really interesting. And internship gave me a lot of access to different facets, different operation within the company, because you can interview people, you can basically access the information as you would like, which thanks to my great boss at the time. And after that, in 2023, so last year in October, I really am interested in M&A, and I joined the deal strategy at Strategy, which is part of the PwC network in Denmark as their consulting arm, and specifically we're mostly serving the PE, the private equity clients, and in the different acquisition or engagement. So that's briefly about my journey. And next, I would like to move on to just a bit more elaborating on why I chose Copenhagen Business School MBA program. I think first is the program just perfectly aligns with my interest and prepares me better for my future career transitioning to Denmark. Because for me, it's very important the career potential what MBA will be able to bring me transitioning from a North America background into Denmark. So my motivation for considering one is sustainability, because from a market intelligence experience, I realized even though I'm not directly working in sustainability as a sustainability consultant, for example, but I think the sustainability aspect has been so permeated into everyday operation. And I think it's very important to get myself more educated in sustainability topic. So that's my top reason. And second to that is the knowledge and the business networks. As I mentioned, I would like to bring everything together, but I also think in order to successfully transitioning to a Danish working environment, it's also very important to have the network in terms of both academic, that you know that these are the research institute that's been in within CBS network, and these are the businesses that we will get exposure to. Take very much advantage of, all the professional breakfasts or company events. These are the great way to get a sense of what Denmark network or the Denmark business landscape is. So I think that for me is very important from an outside perspective coming into Denmark. And then the third one is closer to family, because my partner is a Danish, and I think COVID has changed a lot of perspective while we're living in North America. So from that point of view, I will also appreciate the opportunity being closer to his family, but at the same time also closer to my family, to China. So I think that's my top motivations for considering an MBA in Denmark. And then moving on to reasons why I choose Copenhagen Business School. First of all, it's the strong sustainability program. And I still remember when I was applying, there is questions in the application asking, what does sustainability mean to you? And frankly, I don't think that's a question that every business school is asking you for. So that really does showcase how much they put sustainability on the agenda, and also wants the candidate to have a perspective going in. So the strong sustainability program, I think it really brings me perspective on the topics or the leading topics within sustainability in the world. And second, the diverse networks. I think the internship helped me so much. Honestly, I'm not sure if I would end up in the same M&A if I didn't had the M&A internship at COE. So I'm super grateful for that. Definitely, I think CBS been 100+ years within the country and the whole Nordic region. I think it does have a diverse networks to businesses, and take advantage of all the opportunities that's the program is able to offer. And the last point is I think I chose CBS MBA also because of the small class size. Being from more of an education in North America, I think, the class that you're having is a lot of times 200 people. And, this is not the same approach as a 45 people. And especially in a case study kind of learning environment that you do, I think a smaller class size do help you to formulate the thinking and to bring out the perspective and kind of try and error and test out your thinking in a smaller class size. And the fact that it's from a diverse background. It's not, I think a lot of the US schools, they could be more focused on, or a lot of the background is from consulting and financial services or other professional services. So I do appreciate a diverse background of having a more balanced profile. We have also coming from manufacturing and construction. And that's where in the case study setting, again, for own learning, is when everybody has something to bring to the table, and then we're all learning from each other. And the class size, you are also able to know each other on a more personal level as well. So yeah, that's how my career has been, and my top reason for choosing. And for feel free to send questions, and then we can answer later.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ku. That's absolutely brilliant overview. And yeah, I would just reiterate what Ku said. Send in your questions. We're getting loads already in, and in fact, we had some people send questions before the event too. So we'll definitely get to those in 5 minutes. Maybe we can pass the baton over to you now, Judith, if that works for you.
Yes, it does. You can hear me? Perfect. Let me check if I can make it go. Do you see my presentation now?
Yes, we do. And I just realized I said yes
perfect.
while I was muted, so that didn't really work for you.
I kept it quite clean.
Good stuff.
So I couldn't agree more with KU about the experience in the class size. It's just, I thought it was perfect. My presentation is about my perfect working day and how the MBA made me realize what it was and what I needed for that. So this is me. The picture on the right, it's taken in Noordhouen, a very sustainable development in the city of Copenhagen. So my name is Judith Anjema, pronounced in Dutch. I'm 37 years old and I live in the Netherlands, and I'm also Dutch. When I started the MBA, I was 35 years old, and I was one of the people that were older, and that's okay because it didn't feel like that. I'm married. I'm a mom of 2 toddlers now, so one of them was a baby when I started the MBA. I have a background in construction, so I have a bachelor in the built environment. As a construction engineer, I did my master's at a technical university of Delft in design and construction management. I graduated in 2012, then started working for about 10 years. And then I started questioning myself, like, what am I doing? Is this what I really want to do with the rest of my life? And that's what made me think of doing this MBA. So I performed an MBA in 2022-23, like KU. My work experience is mainly in construction industry. I worked in a consultancy for about 3.5 years. And the last 5 years, I worked as a bid manager and business developer in complex and large scale buildings, of which the last year in Copenhagen. So I moved to Copenhagen before I considered the MBA. So that's good to know. I lived in Copenhagen from 21 until 23. So why did I choose CBS full-time MBA? I started thinking about doing this program during my maternity leave of my second baby. You can see them on the right. So this picture was taken about the time when I started thinking about joining the program. It was mainly because I felt very disappointed by my former employer. I was very confused about my job and what I wanted to do with my life. I was 100% sure that I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I really love my career. I love working. But what was the purpose of my work? And was the construction really helping the world, as I think we need a more sustainable world? So I had a lot of questions, like, do I want to stay in the construction industry? Do I feel like I'm contributing to a better world with my current occupation? Do I feel like I'm enough innovating in my industry? It's very slow industry. Maybe I should shift to energy industry. How do I know if I really want that? How do I find out? Where do I start? I had a lot of questions. So I already decided I didn't want to go back after my maternity leave to my former job, but I was stuck. And that's when I figured this might be the best time to think about studying again. And I knew an MBA would be a perfect study for me, as I have a technical background. I work with my experience. I had a lot of more economic issues, and I never had any finance classes or any economic classes, and I figured it really would support my skills, my skill set, and that's how I got to the MBA. So I chose mainly CBS because I already lived in Copenhagen, but then I, of course, wanted to know, is this a good school? If I do the MBA here at Copenhagen, is this really adding something to me? And then I looked at the best schools in the Netherlands to do the MBA, the ones I would choose if I was living in the Netherlands. And CBS is like, if you look at Rotterdam Erasmus, which is a very good school, business school of Rotterdam, in the lists, like, it's either one is 20 and the other one is 21, and next year they're shifted. So I figured, okay, in the Netherlands, I would go to Rotterdam, and Copenhagen is very similar to that very good school. So I think Copenhagen CBS would be a good opportunity for me. And I can say it was. So I mainly did it because I needed time to reflect and to try out things. So my MBA journey, as I said, it's your ticket to try out. Mainly for my career search, and I reached out to a lot of alumni about what transition have you made in your career, how did it go, how does it work out for you, but also others, like Andrew already said, it's a very informal networking culture in Denmark. So I even got myself a job interview on the playground while my kids were playing. So it's a great experience. I got myself on the advisory board of a startup, just making conversations on someone's birthday. And it's really, the card to say, okay, I'm in this journey. I want to learn, I want to experience, and that's what I did. I tried out the energy industry as I was curious about. I did the internship at European Energy, and it made me realize that if I want to contribute to a better world with my job, it's better to do it in the industry that I actually know, and that also made me realize that I should go back into construction, but take a role that has more impact to a more sustainable world. International class, I really, really appreciate all the nationalities that are in the class. It made me realize that I'm extremely European and Dutch, and I can learn so much from other people around the world. And I had so many personal insights. It was amazing. So this is where it got me. On the right, you see me and my team. This was the beginning in November, last November, but I already have 2 more FTE in my team now. So what I'm doing, I'm a sustainability manager, which means I'm setting up a department for sustainability in a construction company. We started out with the five of us, but we're now already with 7 people. So I'm the team lead, and I'm just, we're trying 6 FTE in my team, yeah. And we're just figuring out what we should do. That's pretty much what we're doing. So the company, it's a construction company, part of a bigger, foundation-owned company. And I use so many things in my daily life that I learned in the courses. So, of course, sustainability and governance related issues, everything about EU taxonomy, CSRD, and all the legislation stuff, but also innovation management, HR, digitalization, change management. There's a lot of courses that gave me insights, sometimes about things that I already knew, but now I use them in my new job. I can really put things more into perspective, and I know that it gives me more confidence about that I'm doing the right thing. So yeah, the MBA really, what I wanted to say is the first career module, the first exercise, it says describe your perfect working day. And in the beginning I wrote things down, and now looking back, I have my perfect working day. However, I wrote down that I wanted to cycle to work. That's not possible, so I have to drive to work. But the company gave me this car, so I'm okay with that now. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Judith, and thank you both again for really interesting. I laughed, I smiled when I saw my perfect working day because, and then you mentioned it. It was the first part of the careers workshop that you'll do, even actually before you join the program. So there's been lots of good questions already sent in, and I've collated a few of them. So let's just fire away, and maybe I'll just do it one by one, or you guys can jump in and feel what you can answer is most relevant. There's been a few along a similar theme there, around what part of the program helped you the most to help get you the job after the program, and if so, how did that help? Let's go with you, Kerry, if that's all right.
Is it more academic or overall anything in the program?
The one that was sent in previously was making an emphasis to say interpret it as you will, pick a specific part, but I get the feeling it might be an overarching thing rather than one specific part. But if there's a particular highlight that was particularly helpful, that's what they asked you. They asked you to try and be specific if you can.
For me, I think it's totally the internship. Because I wasn't having any M&A experience before, but I'm very much interested trying out M&A. And then there is this great opportunity that's sourced from CBS career team, which is an amazing team that has helped me throughout the whole journey. And I took the opportunity and try out and got a bit of a insight into the industry. And yeah, I leveraged that experience in my later application to M&A or a very PE specific context, which leads to currently where I'm working right now in deal strategy. So I would say for me, the highlight or the one that's most critical or indispensable is definitely the internship. But I also feel the LDP is the other one I have also alluded to in the previous presentation. I think LDP has also helped me have a deeper look into myself and figure out what I want. What are the things that I would like to prioritize and what are the things that I need. Also thinking of comfort zone, trying out different things and not to get to the panic zone. So I think a lot of these theory was still ringing in the back of my head.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. Well, to keep the variety then, Judith, somebody's asked you directly here. How was undertaking an MBA with a young family? Is it something you recommend? Maybe the second part's quite a tricky one to answer, but how was it?
Yes, I would recommend, especially in Denmark. I wouldn't do it in the Netherlands. So Denmark has a great daycare system. It's very affordable and it's 5 days a week system where it's very stable. So for me, what was most ideal is I was able to have my kids taken care for during classes, and then I would pick them up. We would have family time, we would have dinner time together, and then I would put them to bed. And as soon as they slept, I started doing my homework. And I've done all my homework during either their daycare hours or in the evening hours. Also in the weekends when other classmates were maybe studying, I wanted to spend time with my family. So I've done everything on Saturday evenings, Friday evenings, no partying for me. It was hard work, but you need to be very, just very strict for yourself. But I'm happy I did it. In that sense, I would recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's similar. I didn't do my MBA at CBS back in London, and it was didn't have kids, but it was discipline, time management, prioritization. You kind of have to be
100% discipline.
Yeah, you will say no to some personal stuff, but luckily on the full time, you guys are all on the same sort of boat. And I would say there's a good number of people that come with families. Was there many in your cohort, Judith?
We were with 3 parents. So there was one other mom. She had teenagers, which has other challenges. So they can dress themselves, but they have other challenges that can be worrying. And there was a father that actually kept his wife and daughter back home in India. And during our year, 2 guys became a father. Or no, one guy became a father, one guy became a father just shortly after that. But
yeah, people were really busy that year.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I'll just change track because there's been a few questions about language, and maybe we'll come back to you, Koyu. But both of you, this could definitely be relevant for. How was it in terms of? Well, let's say basically the Danish aspect of it. How did you adapt when it came to was there any potential language barriers during the MBA, post MBA, for instance, finding your internships or in the current companies, finding your current work, networking, anything like that? How was it with that?
Maybe I'll start. I think Danish is not a hard requirement, though it's a very strong plus if you do. I don't think you absolutely need to have Danish under your wing to be able to work here. And of course, it depends on what kind of companies, right? Because if it's a very local company, local management and local colleagues, and you perhaps would like to participate in the water fountain conversation, which will likely take place, take part in Danish. But I would say if it's an international organization, I don't see any barriers for being not able to speak Danish. In my internship, for example, it's a Danish-based and very Nordic or Scandinavia engineering consultancy, but whenever I step in the room, my boss would say, let's change it to English. So I think that's also showing very much respect about inclusiveness of wanting everybody to be in the conversation. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. And I think in my current job, because now I'm more of a consulting, and if the client is a very Danish local operation, and some of the meetings would take part in Danish, but if it's not the case, that I think English is for the most part. Yeah.
Was that your experience too, Judith?
Yes, very similar. So I did my internship at European Energy, and their company language is English, even though it's a Danish company. They're international, but mainly based in Denmark. During lunch, it might, sometimes colleagues would shift to Danish, and I love learning the Danish language. So for me, I couldn't really join in, but I could understand. I know that it's appreciated when you try, but it's not necessary, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
No. And I also think I chose for a job in the Netherlands, but I could have stayed in Denmark even though I don't speak Danish. So there were job opportunities even though I didn't speak Danish. Yeah.
On a similar, well, actually a bit different track, I suppose, but how did you find it in terms of balancing the time of class time, preparation, assignments? We've hit on the theme already that, doing an MBA is intense and it is about discipline, time management, but how did you guys find that in yourselves with your own, maybe we start again with you, Ko.
Absolutely disciplined. I think it did. I think one of the skills that you pick up from MBA toolbox is time management, which means that you need to proactively thinking about, okay, what are the things, what are the classes coming, assignments and readings, prioritize the ones that's absolutely needed. And also I think perhaps, yeah, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. This is a 1-year MBA program, as opposed to most MBA program is 2 years. But we're not learning anything less than the 1 year compared to the 2-year program. And at the same time, we are having internship, a 3-month internship, which you are the company that you're collaborating, working on your thesis, while there's a concentration going on every 2 weeks or so. And then you have a concentration class and coming in the weekend, if I remember right. So there's definitely, you need to manage and thinking about making the list of prioritization. So I think, yeah, if you do well, and normally Monday to Friday, perhaps you're not having much of a party during the weekday, but I think weekend is still okay to relax and enjoy with friends and classmates. So definitely doable, but definitely need to also pay attention on the time management.
Yeah, and I guess a different thing then, because I know you mentioned it in your presentation. How was it for you doing the finance aspects, Judith? Because you mentioned you're not from a finance background. Is that what you meant by that? Like,
Yes.
how was that for you? Because also those are in middle of winter in Denmark. It's intense on the program at that point. What did you think?
It's definitely the 2 first modules. They're the most intense, and also weather-wise. So those can be pretty hard. For me, corporate finance, I think, was the hardest class because the pace is quite high. And I felt it was quite difficult for me to prepare well for those classes. Accountancy, I already prepared myself pretty well, trying to educate myself a little before the MBA. So that was very doable, to be honest. Maybe it's also because I have a technical background and I love numbers. It's not too far away from what I know, and of course I have my experience, so it's not completely new. But I learned a lot of things about like bonds and stocks and how things like that work. I had no idea. So for me, it was so much more interesting. I even got myself a subscription to the Financial Times as like a gift to myself. I know, and I would never have done that before the MBA. No.
Terrific. So you've carried forward some interest with you on that.
I feel for me, it gave me like the skill to read The Economist and to read the Financial Times. That's something I would like to say that I was able to do that before the MBA, but now I have done the MBA. I know that I actually know what it says. Yeah.
So I just jump in. That's tremendous, and I would echo that as well. Like giving you the confidence to speak that language. You're not going to be the accountant afterwards, but to be able to speak that language is very valuable. Kuya, just another questions came in that is linked to also something you mentioned earlier. So they're just interested to know how that relationship is facilitated between you finding your internship, because it's kind of this blended approach. But you were one of the ones that. We have these companies approached us, and then you applied to it through that. Well, you tell us the story, maybe.
It's so the internship can comes in two sources as of my latest knowledge, unless we have some new stuff coming in this year. Is one, it can be CBS source. So CBA is the MBA program is actively working with businesses in Copenhagen and trying to procure internship opportunities for the 3.5 months. And another second source that you could also be actively reaching out to companies yourself that it's of your interest. Maybe it's your targeted company post MBA, or it might be some companies that you have come across in the professional breakfast or during your coffee chats or during your the company events that the school is hosting. So I think there's multiple sources that you might be exposed to another set of companies, and that's the CBS. It's not part of the CBS pool. So there are also you can also source the internship yourself. So for me, the Kobe one is, I'm very fortunate it comes from the CBS pool. Yeah.
But you still needed to like, it wasn't basically, I'm asking as well because somebody's asked this too, and it wasn't just automatic. It wasn't like CBS automatically gave you a placement. It's still, you have to go and speak to Kobe and interview.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not a contract that's being presented to you. You still need to go through the process, proactively reaching out to the company, applying for the position, and go for an interview, and see the mutual fit. So it's just sources where the posting could coming from, CBS source to your own source, but it's not a contract already being presented to you. You still have to earn it from yourself.
And did you feel that experience helped you then when you went into the, sorry to use this terminology, but you went into the real world to try and do this for your post-MBA career? Did that, doing that back and forth with the company, did that give you positive examples to draw upon?
Absolutely, it's very positive for me. My internship, as I think I mentioned in my presentation, I think it's one, it's the M&A insights. Second is the Danish working environment insights. And the third is the thesis perspective, that digitalization and the combination, how can that be priced in the M&A setting. So I think all of the three are very valuable to me, and important for me to leverage for my post-MBA career move.
Superb. Yeah, thank you so much. And anybody interested in the practicalities, obviously you can reach out to us. We can explain exactly how that works with the careers team. I'm just conscious of time, so I'll probably have one more question for you guys, and then I've seen a load of practical questions that I can probably run through for you, because we're running over time. So Judith, somebody directly asked you to compare Copenhagen to Rotterdam. It is very true. We do speak to people who are looking at us and Rotterdam very often. I know the guys from there as well. So it's very common. It's a weird setting in universities. We compete, but we also cooperate a lot as well. I guess do you have any insights that you can provide as somebody who's in that area?
Well, actually, I'm calling in from Rotterdam right now.
Okay.
Even though I don't live there, and my company, the company I work for, is not there, but I'm one in my sister companies right now. Differences.
Don't worry if you can't click anything comes to mind.
Well, I know I'm not sure about the MBA class, because I wasn't looking for the full-time MBA. I was looking for the part-time MBA at Rotterdam. So that's a difference. And I know the class sizes are also quite small, and that's something when I joined CBS MBA, and I found out, I think KU we had 37. I thought it was quite big, because in the Netherlands, like 25 would be like but I'm not sure about the full-time MBA.
there, I think it's around 100 for those.
Yeah, it might be bigger.
Like
yeah. No, yeah, I don't know. Rotterdam, it's like 5 degrees warmer than Copenhagen. No, it's a very similar culture as well. Very similar career. Like the networking, getting you a job in the networking. I do think Copenhagen has a bigger international career opportunities, because it's like the main capital, and in the Netherlands we have like 3 main capitals, which is more diverse, and it's not all in Rotterdam, because Amsterdam and The Hague are also quite international cities, in Eindhoven. So it's less concentrated.
Yeah, and I think that's touching on a really important point, because in fact we can't answer that for you. It's about whoever's watching and asked that question. I think it was I'd written it down. Apologies. It's really about your criteria and matching, and that's level where they're both triple accredited schools from what I remember about Rotterdam. It's more about fit and alignment for us, for you, and the other way around as well, because we can't pick your criteria. Like you guys mentioned your criteria earlier, and that was a fantastic way to give people an idea of what that would be. So I would say that's really up to you. I mean, and I would secondly just say there's a couple of practical things. Like these days, there's a lot of changes happening globally around post-study work visas. Unfortunately, I know it probably wasn't relevant for you, Judith, as a European, but as a fellow
international students right now are not as welcome as they were before in the Netherlands. It's a big topic. However, I do not think right now you would feel like that when you would go to the Netherlands. But as you mentioned in your introduction, like in the Netherlands, there's a shift about making the international community smaller in the Netherlands.
Yeah, and apologies, it's not a criticism. It was just
no. It's I don't like this movement, but
no. Trust me, I'm from England. We also have those problems with that type of thing as well. So don't worry about that. So a couple of practical questions that have come up around, and I can cover those, and then we'll wrap up for the day. So just a study abroad semester. There is a study abroad semester available for going to the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland. And there was also a couple of questions around GMAT and the 3 years criteria. Yes, on the GMAT, we definitely need that, but I would say the application consideration is holistic. Okay, so an MBA application is probably higher general entry requirements than a master's, but is more flexible. So we're looking at lots of criteria. So it's not just one thing that we take into it in terms of your work experience or your international experience or your leadership potential. There's lots of things that go into that. I would say this year has been extremely popular, possibly for some of the reasons that that we've just been talking about. So if you are interested in 2024, I would recommend to try and pursue the April round deadline if you can. But that's just trying to be transparent about where we are with the class. Finally, I just wanted to say thank you so much for you both for you today. I would just say to everybody who's attended today, we'll send out the recording, which will include links to where you can follow us and get in touch about with us individually as admissions managers. But finally, thank you so much, Koyu and Judith. It's been so interesting to hear from your viewpoints. And we've had loads of people send in really good questions. So apologies we didn't get to all of them, but that's sometimes how it goes today. So thank you so much, guys. Super. And there's lots of people saying thank you. You guys can't see it either. And like I say, we'll send it out hopefully tomorrow afternoon. If not, it'll be later on this week, and we'll be happy to connect. And finally, sorry, one more question was about, do we travel around the world? Yes, we do. We're in the US quite over March as well. So jump onto our website under events, and you'll be able to see where we're coming. Terrific. Thanks so much, guys.